Thank you, Christoph. Absolute honor and a great pleasure to be here. Firstly, hey, hello, guten tag, bonjour, and top of the morning to you all. This session is about ethical empowerment and how ethics and AI could be a superpower. For me, I personally believe that there's good out there, and we should fight for it and do something great for it. As you can tell, I wear many hats, quite literally. I'm the CEO and founder of the company. I'm an AI strategist. I worked with Fortune 500 companies in the past, and I've learned the recipe of how to build a compliant and resilient, secure AI and data platform. Now, interesting one here is the ICO. So ICO was responsible for governance in the UK, and I worked with them to make their database GDPR compliant before GDPR. And that was the beginning of my compliance journey. And in 2020, I decided to start AI Tech UK with the mission to empower businesses to adopt AI, understand AI, and build this with governance-first approach. So we specialize in knowledge and governance, and we have a solution that is designed to offer the support and solve the ethical challenges that we face today. It's almost like having your chief ethics officer in your business if you don't have one. Just to see, who's in the audience. How many of you have governance capability in your business? Quite a few, good. How many of you are actually building like a high risk, when I say high risk, public facing or public services based, like healthcare, fintech, legal service based AI solutions? Quite a few, that's good. Okay, so what we'll cover today is why we need ethics and why we need governance, and how we can apply this in practice. So I'm sure you heard a lot about philosophical stuff around governance and AI. I want to get hands-on today, if you can. And lastly, practically, what does that look like from a benefit point of view, and why it's a superpower. So this is my favorite slide, because I personally believe that if you're building AI, machine learning, with no moral codes, no consciousness, no people-centric value, if you're not thinking about the society, the planet, and your key stakeholders at the other end, you may end up building an animal. And I think this probably sets the tone for this keynote. I'll let you take the photos. Tag me, though. So let me give you some examples why we need to be proactive and think about ethics and governance, okay? Now, this picture is about colonization. And there was one particular innovation that resulted, or not one, there are a few, that catalyzed this activity, or phenomena, or disruption. And that was ships, compasses, gunpowders, guns, armors, trading knowledge, financial knowledge, all of that. Whereas the other party were happy on an island. Okay? Now you got to think, if your AI could potentially cause digital slavery or probably intellectual colonization. Just food for thought, okay? I don't need the answers now, just hold that thought. Here's another example which we must have witnessed, our ancestors must have witnessed recently, which is Industrial Revolution. During Industrial Revolution, children were allowed to work in the factory near the furnace. They got injured, they lost a limb. Pregnant women were allowed to work 12 plus hours without a toilet break. Now, after 2 decades, human rights, child labor law, health and safety was put in place. So it was absolute human rights, freedom, and health and safety chaos during Industrial Revolution. And it took 2 decades for some measures to be put in place. So we got to think, just learning from this example from the past, that are we going to build something that could impact freedom, human rights, okay? So just be mindful of that. The next one, which we often dismiss and we still struggle, this is the byproduct of petroleum and petrochemical industry, plastic. For 2 decades, we enjoyed plastic. And after 2 decades, we realized, wait a minute, this is a government's problem, waste management. And then it also became people's problem, and then ultimately planet's problem. But someone should have been regulated before disposing the waste. So we got to think before our AI is deployed, how are we impacting the sustainability and the systems as well? Okay, so there are a few factors that we need to think about. Human rights, the systemic impact, the societal impact, and sustainability impact. And why? The big question is why? Why am I talking about all of this? Because this becomes relevant, especially in the context of AI. So right now, even large companies are getting their AI wrong. Okay? I'm not going to dive into it. I'm sure you know most of it. What happens when you get your AI wrong? No one will trust you. And when you don't trust a brand, what do the customers do? They leave. 60 to 70% of the customers leave soon as there's no trust. Compliance is complicated. And with recent announcement of ISO standards and yesterday's announcement, I'm sure you all heard of that AI Act has been passed. I cannot wait for it to be implemented, but we needed that. But still, there's a lot going on, lots of standards, lots of framework. How do you sort of put all of this together? So I would say there's a little bit of compliance chaos, but there is still positive and optimistic, end goal at there. The next one is we might be thinking, oh, this is great. If you can think about it, we'll build it, and if you can build it, it should be right. We don't realize the long-term risk of stuff that we build, and you can see some examples right here that it may be right for now, maybe, but for the long term, it may not be. So just think about the long-term unintended consequences and unintended risk for unintended users. So just be accountable for that. So having said all of this is just obviously the ethical and governance related challenge, but AI brings its own challenge. And all of these are pretty relevant for most of you, or some of them might be. First and foremost is governance being such a complicated thing, there's a huge knowledge gap. When you have this knowledge gap, it almost becomes inaccessible. You're building a black box technology, and you're investing a lot of money, and then you get it wrong. So the risk of you getting your governance wrong is quite high. And the consequences of getting it wrong is even higher, which is the penalties and fine and reputational damage, and you losing your customers. So just be mindful of the long-term and the short-term problems that you'll face. So let's look into the positives of it, shall we? Now, we all know if a company builds a bad AI and the employees are using it, how many of you as an employee will trust that company which is building, bad AI? I don't think so anyone would. But if someone was building, honest AI with ensuring data privacy, there's integrity, there's human-centric approach in place, you will believe in that brand, you will believe in that company, and you will believe in that product. So I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand who's here for good or bad, but I believe, like most of us, will be there for the good. So what is missing? What is missing here? What makes an AI product good? In my opinion, it is the governance management. So if you have governance management in place, you're already making a positive start from conceptual design, development, and all the way to deployment stage. And that's why I would say let's take a proactive approach and put governance in place proactively. So what does that look like? There's many frameworks out there. So what we have done is we spent 3+ years trying to figure out which one's best. How do we integrate all of this? And I'm not Moses, but I have written 10 commandments. And I'm going to summarize this briefly and quickly. And it's published on LinkedIn and also on our website. So just a quick summary of this 10 commandments as I'm conscious of time. The first one is, just put the human hat on for once. We usually wouldn't harm people on the street, do we? Right? We don't just take their photo without permission. We don't steal the wallet of people who just walks into your shop. Hey, I'm going to take your, ID, your home address. We don't do that, right? So, and we don't judge people on the street, right? Why would you do that digitally? Ask yourself, why would you do that digitally, especially with AI? So don't do things that you wouldn't do in your house, in your shop, on the street. Why would you do that in real world? So just build AI with no intention of harm. First foundational principle. Be human-centric. Think about the people, right? The next thing is, this is quite profound. Most of the framework do not include this, which is honoring intellectual privacy. Intellectual privacy is a bit more deeper than data privacy. I'm sure everyone understands data privacy here, so I'm not going to mention that. But intellectual privacy is what happens when you give your intelligence, your expertise, and you teach machines. So machine learning is transferring that intelligence from here, from human, to a software. So when you transfer that intelligence, there's an element of privacy transfer or intellectual transfer. So how do you protect the person on the other end? So this means if you're building, I don't know, AI doctor or AI lawyer or AI teacher, you got to honor the collective intellectual privacy, okay? Which leads into the next point. If you're building a high-risk innovation, who has the intellectual authority? What this means is you got to have human in the loop who can challenge the inaccuracies in AI, okay? This is why ChatGPT in certain areas are banned. And it only makes sense for certain users who can challenge it to use ChatGPT, okay? Same is the case with various other high-risk innovations in AI. Others are, I would say, fairly straightforward, which is protecting your data, protecting your AI models, and upholding the human obligations and values. If your AI can do what you as a human would do, why not? Why we shouldn't? We should do it. The sixth one is quite interesting. Justify why AI should talk to AI. And again, most of the frameworks don't talk about this. Now, let me give you an example. If you have a generative AI here, which is 80% accurate, and you're going to connect that to generative AI here, which is also 80% accurate, do you know what is the collective accuracy of both of them giving the output? Anyone? Anyone? 64%. Close. So 0.8, or 80, 64% accuracy, because it multiplies. So you become responsible now for 36% inaccuracy. And that's the next thing. You are supposed to take the responsibility of the autonomous mode. Because if it goes wrong, now you're accountable for 36% inaccuracy. So justify why would you connect this and explain this. And if you do so, and if this is something, I don't know, a powerful AI solution or a chatbot, whatever you're building, you got to navigate the systemic, the skills, the speed and scale at which this disruption is about to happen, and also look at the sustainability elements of it. If you're building a new AI solution, what happens to all of this? The skills, the systems, impact on society. And also, look for opportunities. Do you think there's a way to add some skill support? Is there a way to help and work with the systems? I'm going to give an example of, to make this a bit more realistic, example of driverless taxi. Okay? If you build driverless taxi, you're disrupting driving schools, licensing bodies, existing driving institutes and organizations, and obviously the existing taxis. So there's a holistic impact to the ecosystem. So you've got to be mindful of that, how you balance all of this. Which means that the next point is you have accountability to make sure you as a business mitigate some of these unintended consequences that will come at some point, okay? May not be now. In 2 years down the line, you'll have strikes. So you may be responsible for it. So what's your accountability to do so? And lastly, which is straightforward, which is being explainable, transparent, and demonstrating, if you're using generative AI, the outputs are from generative AI. And this is what the European AI Act also says. I think it's Article 52, where it says you've got to have watermark or some sort of indication that the content or the image or the video is AI generated, okay? We need to make sure if it's AI or if it's plastic, it is plastic. Because people do want to value the authentic human-made arts and content as well, okay? So we got to differentiate those two. So no deception. That's what I mean here. Was that helpful? Okay. I should have given a warning. You all need coffee before my session. Okay, so to make that more practical, I'm also the founder of the Smart Ethics, which is our product. What we have done is, it was an open source solution, then we decided to license it. So it's available. And what we did is we took all these international standards or changing regulations, everything. We have compiled them together in a way that it is structured so that you're not going at 10 places. It is practical and consistent. And the first thing that we look at is, how do we protect human rights? How can you become people-centric and human-centric? And then the next thing we look at it is, how do you rationalize? Okay, why do you need this? And can you justify, do you have a business case here? Justifiable business case here, okay? The next thing we look at is opportunity scanning, which is, how can you manage the disruption? Okay, can you create more skills with your tool? Can you create better systems with the tool? Who do you talk to from a stakeholder's point of view? How do you integrate, different elements like the societal change, the sustainability impact, all of that. So quite holistic. It brings SDG. It aligns to your CSR goals as well. Then we bring all the risk associated to all the global standards. That includes EU AI Act, BSI, which is through BCS, and NIST framework as well. So we look at holistic global risk, which means you don't have to go everywhere. It's all in one place. Lastly, this is the most important one. If you get anything wrong, what would you do? And this is what we need proactively from day one. Accountable redesign. No matter where you are in your journey, right? You could be on a conceptual stage or already launched a product. Come on, we always update our software, right? You can always redesign and fix it, okay? So that's what it means. What is your responsibility as a business, and how do you show this to your customer that I will fix if anything goes wrong? That's what it means, okay? So I want every business here to take responsibility, and accountable redesign should be one of your key elements. And the reason I said that, why you should be proactive, is just a quick one. This is what happens if you get your AI wrong quite late. You get that moment, right? You got millions already invested, and changing the architecture will be challenging. Okay, so start with ethics, start with ethical design as your initial consideration. Okay. Next, the benefits. Why ethics and governance becomes a superpower. As I said, it will save you a huge amount of cost without realizing it. Okay, it saves your project, it saves your brand, it saves your business, and the cost saving is exponential depending on the size of your project and company. The second, you don't have to go through 100 places to find out what is right. Governance in a compiled manner, in a proactive manner, gives you speed. And also, when I say speed, you are compliant already compared to the other brands. So who do you think the customers will go to? Product A, racing and building something unethical, or product E, which is ethical? Pretty clear and straightforward, which means it gives you a competitive advantage and high rate of success from day one. Okay? I have a quick demo of our platform. So if you have your mobile phone, I'm going to show you the QR code. There's about 150 criteria that we look into. This demo shows 3 criteria. One is around the point number 1, which is intellectual ownership, your data ownership, and intellectual rights that you have. So if you already have that, great. The next one is around the EU's risk levels. So you can assess your idea, your project around the risk levels. And lastly, why you're building this product, at what stage you are. Depending on that, how can you iteratively improve your governance posture. So I would say, with that, I would leave that QR code for you to scan and try the ethics product that we have, and it only takes 2 minutes to see if your idea is ethical or not. But I would say thank you for your patience and your consideration. And you know what? Ethics is superpower. So, it's not the AI which is bad, it's the humans who use AI who are going to be doing the wrong decisions. So make sure we have that responsibility among ourselves to become ethical and take this forward. All right? Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you very much, Sharon. So because I love to speak myself. I'm always like, I always also like to comment on great speakers. I think this was a really, really great speech.
Thank you.
And it fit very well with the topic that you because governance is about, feeling security and calm. Was one of the presentations that emitted the most calm, no? So calm, it was like so easy to listen, but still, like engaging. So like calm and engaging, but it gave a lot of like, ease to the audience in my eyes. So really well delivered. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I'm upstairs if you need to talk to me.
We have one question actually from the audience,
Sure.
From the online audience. Monica is asking when the car was invented, it was the decline of the coachman, but also a lot of new jobs were created in that, by having car repair shops, suppliers, and so on.
Yeah.
So she would like, just take this as an example question.
Sure.
What do you think about this, for example, from an ethical point of view?
Yes. So AI will definitely create more jobs. It's not about are we going to replace jobs? It's more about how do we responsibly manage the systemic skills and social change with AI. So what I'm trying to say is think proactively so that AI can also create jobs and balance a few things, okay? Like my job didn't exist. Like I'm an AI strategist, governance expert. For some AI startups, I'm their product designer, AI product designer. I'm an AI architect. I do many things. These job roles did not exist. There's prompt engineering now. There will be AI insurance companies. You never know. There will be new opportunities, just like industrial transformation happened. So we are going through an intellectual revolution, which will create its own opportunities. But it's just how do we manage that in a responsible manner? And the reason I say that is, at every revolution that we've seen, like industry revolution, manual labor went away. Then we had digital revolution where manual office, not clerk level jobs went away and it became digitalized. So we're seeing an element of us losing something.
Yeah.
This is the intellectual revolution. If you lose intelligence, what are we left with? So.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Then I'm sure you'll be around for other questions
from
the audience here.
All right. Thank you guys.
Thank you very much.